Okay, so they actually confirmed it. Like, the creators actually came out and said it. And I just need to talk about this because I think people are sleeping on how big this actually is. Like, season 5 is the last season, the final season. And they are saying that Julie's story walking is going to be a major part of it. Like, a major part. And on top of that, they're saying that the answers, like the real answers to everything this show has been building toward, are actually hidden in the very first episode of the entire series, like season 1, episode 1. The answers have been there the whole time, and we just didn't know what we were looking at. And I just think, like, when you put all of that together, like when you actually sit down and think about what that means for season 5, it's kind of insane, because this show has been asking questions for 4 seasons now. 4 seasons of mysteries and creatures, and the man in yellow, and the boy in white, and the talismans, and the bottle tree, and all of it. And now we're going into the final season, and they're telling us that Julie, who a lot of people were honestly really frustrated with this season, is going to be one of the most important characters in the entire endgame of this show. Like, that changes things. That changes how you look at everything she's been doing and everything she hasn't been doing yet. And I think a lot of people who wrote her off this season are going to feel very differently about her by the time season 5 is done. And then you also have to think about the filming schedule and when this is actually coming out and what we can realistically expect in terms of a release window, because I think there's actually some really interesting stuff to talk about there too. And then on top of all of that, there's just the bigger question of like, okay, is this show actually going to stick the landing? Like, is it going to end in a way that feels satisfying and earned and worth everything we've invested into it? Because we've all seen what happens when a mystery show doesn't do that, right? Like, we've all been through that before and it's not fun. And I think that's the thing that's kind of sitting in the back of everyone's mind right now as we head into this final season. Like, there's excitement, but there's also just this little bit of nervousness, you know? Like, is this going to be one of those endings that we're going to be talking about for years in a good way? Or is it going to be one of those things where it's just like, oh, okay, that happened. And I genuinely don't know yet, but I want to talk through all of it because I think there's a lot of really interesting stuff here, and I just think this is a really important moment for the show and for the fan base, and I don't want to waste any time, so let's just get into it. So look, I think most people already know this at this point, but just in case you don't, season 5 is going to be the very last season of From. Like, that's it. The show is ending. And I know that for a lot of fans, that's a weird feeling, because on one hand, you're like, okay, great, we're finally going to get real answers, like the full picture. Everything is going to come together. But on the other hand, there's just this thing where you go, okay, but what if it doesn't? What if after all of this, after 4 seasons of mysteries and build-ups and cliffhangers and all of that, what if the ending just doesn't deliver? And I think that's a completely fair concern to have. Like, I don't think anyone is being unfair by worrying about that, because the history of mystery shows is just not great when it comes to endings, right? Like, we all know that. We've all been there. And so going into a final season of a show like this, there's just always going to be that nervousness sitting underneath all the excitement. But here's the thing that I actually think is a really good sign, and I want to talk about this because I think it matters a lot. The creators have said that they've known what the ending was going to be since the very beginning. Like, when they first came up with this story and started building out this world, the ending was already there. It was already decided. And yeah, sure, like, the way to get there has shifted a little bit over time. Like, little things here and there have changed, certain story beats have evolved, but the overall ending, the actual conclusion of this whole thing, has been the same from day one. And I think that's a genuinely really good sign, because the shows that fall apart at the end are usually the ones where the creators were kind of making it up as they went along, right? Like, they had a great premise and great characters and great mysteries, but they never actually knew where it was all going. And then they get to the end and they just have to figure something out, and it just doesn't land. But if the ending of From has been locked in from the start, then that means everything we've been watching, every season, every episode, every weird, confusing moment, has been building towards something specific. And that's exciting. Like, that's actually really exciting when you think about it that way. And I think season 4 honestly proved that the creators do know what they're doing. Because, like, I've seen a lot of complaints about this season, and I genuinely just don't get it. I really don't. Like, yeah, there are little things here and there where you go, wait, why didn't this happen? Or what about that? Or whatever. Like, I get that there are minor frustrations. Like, okay, the door thing with Jade and Tabitha. Like, I thought maybe they were going to use that door in the finale, and that didn't really play out the way I expected. And there's stuff with Julie and with Ethan and the Lake of Tears and things like that that have been sitting there for a while. But like overall, season 4 delivered. Like they actually ripped out the bottle tree. We found out that the boy in white is working against the man in yellow. Fatima became a creature. Like those are massive things that this show has been building toward for a really long time, and they actually paid them off this season. So I think if season 4 is any indication of how the creators are going to handle the final season, like I'm actually pretty optimistic about where this is going. I really am. And I think the complaints, while I understand where some of them are coming from, I just think people sometimes forget how much actually happened this season when they focus on the things that didn't. Because season 4 moved this story forward in ways that I genuinely could not have predicted coming out of the season 3 finale. And season 5 is going to have to do the same thing. It's going to have to take everything that was set up in this finale, all the chaos and all the unanswered questions and all the new dynamics that have been created, and then just keep pushing it forward toward that ending that the creators have apparently always known was coming. And I think they can do it. I really do. I'm nervous, like any fan would be, but I think they can do it. Okay, so now let's actually talk about Julie, because I think this is one of the most interesting things to come out of everything we've learned about season 5 so far. So the creators actually confirm that Julie's story walking is going to be a major part of season 5, like they said it. And I just think that is such an important piece of information, because Julie was honestly one of the most criticized characters this season. And I kind of get why, even though I also kind of don't. Like, I understand the frustration, because everyone else this season started opening up, right? Like, for the first time, all these characters who have been keeping secrets and holding back information just started actually talking to each other and working together, and it felt like a real shift. And then you have Julie, who is just kind of sitting on this thing, this story, walking ability, and not really doing anything with it, and not really telling anyone about it, and it's just like, okay, what is going on here? Like, what is the point of this if she's not going to use it? And I think that frustration is completely fair. But here's the thing though, like here's what I keep coming back to when I think about Julie's story. The reason she hasn't fully used it yet, the reason she's been holding back, is because she's been trying to use it to save her father. That's the main thing driving her with all of this. And she couldn't even do it, right? Like, she thought she wasn't able to story walk at all, or at least not in the way she needed to. And that was this really defeating thing for her character. But I think once she actually realizes that she can do it, like once that clicks, and she starts to actually understand what she's capable of, season 5 is going to show us a completely different Julie. And the creators confirming that the story walking is going to be a major part of season 5 basically tells us that that moment is coming. Like, Julie is going to fully step into this ability, and it's going to matter. It's going to matter a lot. And I think when that happens, a lot of the people who were frustrated with her this season are going to completely change how they feel about her. Because story walking, like if it's used the right way in season 5, could be one of the most important tools that anyone in that town has. Like, think about what story walking actually is, and what it could potentially do if someone who really understood it was actually using it properly. Like, the possibilities there are genuinely really interesting, and I think the show is going to explore them in a big way. And then there's also just the question of what story walking even fully means in terms of this world and how it connects to everything else. Like, how does it connect to the creatures and the man in yellow and the boy in white and all of the other supernatural stuff that's been happening in this place? Because I don't think story walking is just some random ability that Julie happened to develop. I think it's connected to something deeper about how this place works. And season 5 is probably going to be where we actually find out what that connection is. And honestly, I think that's going to be one of the most satisfying things about the final season, if they do it right. Because Julie's story walking has been this thing sitting in the background for a while now, and I think a lot of people have been wondering if it was ever actually going to go anywhere meaningful, or if it was just going to be this kind of side thing that never really amounted to much. And the fact that the creators are saying it's going to be a major part of the final season basically answers that question. Like, it's going to matter. It's going to be central to how this whole thing wraps up. And I'm genuinely really excited to see that play out. So let's talk about the filming stuff and the release timeline, because I think this is actually really interesting, and there's some stuff here that gives me a lot of hope about when we're actually going to get season 5. So from what I've been seeing online, it looks like the show is going to be filming starting around July 6th. Now, I could be wrong about that exact date. I want to be clear that I'm going off of what's been circulating, and things can always change, but that's what it's looking like right now. And then, the planned end date for filming is apparently somewhere around late November, which is actually really cool because if you look at last year's schedule for season 4, they had a very similar kind of timeline where they started filming in early June, maybe a month before this, and then the show actually came out in April of this year. And that is honestly impressive. That turnaround is really fast by TV standards. Because if you think about shows like The Walking Dead, for example, they would finish filming in October or November, and then the show wouldn't come out for almost a full year after that, sometimes even longer. And that's just been the thing with a lot of TV shows in the last few years, where everything just takes way too long, and the gap between filming and release is just massive. But From has been doing something different, and I think it's genuinely worth appreciating, because the show does seem to be coming out on a pretty regular basis at this point. At least with season 4, there was clearly a real effort to get things out quickly. And I think if the season 5 filming schedule is similar to what season 4 was, then realistically, we could be looking at a spring 2027 release, maybe April or May. And if it's not spring, then I think summer at the absolute latest. I genuinely don't think we're waiting until fall 2027 for this. I think the show comes out before that. And honestly, the window I find most interesting is September. Imagine if From Season 5 came out in September 2027 and then aired through October, and we had this show running right around Halloween time. That would be so perfect for what this show is, right? The atmosphere of that would just be incredible. But yeah, I think realistically, spring or summer 2027 is probably where we land. And in the meantime, there's going to be a lot of stuff to follow, because when a show is filming, there are always little updates and teasers and things that come out, actors posting stuff, little behind-the-scenes things here and there, that kind of thing. And then I think toward the end of this year, or maybe early 2027, we're probably going to get our first actual teaser trailer. Something short, maybe 30 seconds, just enough to get people hyped up and start the conversation again. Because From is really good at promoting the show. They know how to build anticipation, and I think the marketing for the final season is going to be really fun to watch unfold. So yeah, there's going to be a lot to follow over the next several months, and I'm going to be covering all of it. So definitely make sure you're keeping up with everything, because I think the lead up to season 5 is going to be just as exciting as the season itself, honestly. Okay, so now I want to talk about the thing that I think is probably the most fascinating piece of information that has come out about season 5. And that is the fact that the creators have said that a lot of the answers about From, the real core answers to what this place is and what's actually going on, are actually found in the very first episode of the entire series, season 1, episode 1. And I just think about that for a second, because we are 4 seasons deep into this show now. We have watched so many episodes and